All right, folks, I've got some good news. So some of you, this used to be more of a feature of my rhetoric than it is now, just because life changes. You know, like we can only move one direction at a time. But I'm a libertarian socialist. Now, in my opinion, that is a redundant term because socialism is necessarily libertarian. Like, what's the whole point of a proletarian state, of a state, you know, by the working class, for the working class, if it's not democratic? Like, the libertarian element, like the freedom element, I mean, I feel like that kind of gets packaged in. Libertarianism was initially a socialist ideology before it got co-opted by American right-wing hyper-capitalists who thought, like, freedom should mean freedom from OSHA and taxes and very little else. You know, you might work on a company town and work 16-hour days as a 5-year-old in the coal mine in order to afford your rent that you pay with company script, but at least you don't pay much in taxes, right? So American libertarianism has been pretty blighted historically. The Libertarian Party has been kind of, you know, all over the place. Now, the Mises Caucus is a wing of the Libertarian Party that has been trying to, and I'm not going to overstate the case here, Nazify it. A lot of libertarian voters are cranks. Like, a lot of them are right-wing, some of them are kind of left-leaning, a lot of them are very conspiracy-oriented, some of them are just kind of weird and not super well-educated, whatever. Like, any American's well-educated, right? You kidding me? But the problem with the Libertarian Party is that historically it has acted as a spoiler for the Republicans. That is to say, like, Gary Johnson getting 3% of the national vote back in 2016, well, it didn't keep Trump from becoming the president, but if we didn't have, you know, the Electoral College, it might have. It's the Libertarians have a tendency to pull from the Republican vote, you know, a little bit more than they do the Democrats or whatever else. You get me? Right? So Republicans, they fear the Libertarian spoiler vote, and as a consequence, they want to make the Libertarians more useful. After Charlottesville, the Unite the Right neo-Nazi rally, that one, the Libertarian Party, I forget the exact details, but we found this out on stream literally like 2 days ago. Apparently, the reason the Mises Caucus was created was because they were dissatisfied with the condemnation of the Unite the Right rally issued by then representatives of the Libertarian Party. They were literally like, yeah, you know, we don't like the fact that the Libertarians condemn Nazis. Let's fix that. And so the Mises Caucus was born. And since then, there has been a protracted effort. How's it spelled again? Yeah, you got it. You got the spelling. A protracted effort on the part of the Mises Caucus to make the Libertarians really far right, basically just hyper Republicans. Donald Trump went to the Libertarian National Convention just a few days ago to pathetically beg for their vote right before losing. And somebody else won. Folks, Chase Oliver. I didn't think it'd play audio like that. That's fine. That's okay. Chase Oliver, an actual libertarian. I'm not oh, this is the C-SPAN link. I thought it would be like a more pointed link. That's okay. I'll find the real video while I explain. Chase Oliver is running on the promise of ending the genocide. I mean, my man's, like, forward claim as a presidential candidate is the right, you know, being to the left of Joe Biden on foreign policy. Here, Al Jazeera English, thank you. Give me some kind of useful clip, I beg of you. I beg of you. C-SPAN wasn't doing it for me.
I will be the only national candidate. RFK won't, Joe Biden won't, Donald Trump won't, but I'm saying right now, end the genocide, ceasefire now, and support peace around the world. No more proxy wars.
He's an actual libertarian. My understanding is, and you're going to have to forgive me if I'm incorrect on this one, my man over here is actually progressive, like pro-gay, pro-trans, pro-LGBT. I mean, he's a libertarian, you know. I wouldn't go to him if I wanted, like, you know, do you want Medicare for all or whatever. I mean, he's probably not big on government spending, but he's like an actual libertarian, you know? In fact, and he did an interview with Reason TV just a day ago. What does the Libertarian candidate actually believe? Since it says candidate, my guess is that this was filmed before he actually won, right? Article on Chase going over his LGBT views. Meet the gay presidential candidate going up against Trump and Biden. If only it was me, folks. If only it was me. The presidential candidate self-describes as armed and gay. It is me! He is me! Phenomenal. He's also anti-war on drugs. Look, I'm not saying this guy's perfect, okay? He's just actually libertarian. That's my point. He's actually a libertarian. Like a genuine... Isn't that the guy you debated? No. The guy I debated, the last rep from the libertarian candidates, that guy was from the Mises caucus. No, the guy in the pic, scroll up. Was it this guy? It might have been. Austrian school libertarian economist. That means Nazi, right? It was this guy. All right, well, there you go. Well, there you go. Okay, we got it. All right, we've debated the guy who's been photographed with the prospective Libertarian Party's presidential candidate. Look at that. We're really making waves. Anyway, his belief in LGBT issues, voiced his support for drag artists, you know, but again, like libertarian leaning. So Oliver believes schools and parents should decide on whether to allow books and LGBTQ plus issues in school libraries rather than the government. So rather than it being like, I am in favor of X, it's more the government shouldn't meddle in X. Which, hey, come on, okay? We're grading on a curve here. Okay? Degrees of freedom, man. We take those. Nah, we take those. Look, the Republican messaging on this is 100% authoritarian government crackdown. Come on, let's take it. It could be a lot worse. All right? We'll take those. Thank you. We're not in a position to not take those, okay? We are, in terms of LGBT rights prospectively in this country, we are a homeless guy who gets his, like, nourishment by sucking butt sweat off of park benches, and a guy is handing us a $5 bill, and we're like, sorry, we only hold out for 20s, you know? I don't want to carry a bunch of paper cash, you know? I don't want to fill up my wallet with like, cheap bills, you know? Like, we need to understand, we will take the $5 bill. Why are we sounding positive? We don't want votes pulled from Dems. So this is a complicated issue. I do not believe that he's going to be that much of a spoiler on the Dems. At most, I think it might be 50-50 Dems Republicans. However, a couple of pointers here. This is a signal that the Republican Mises Caucus effort to take over the Libertarian Party has not succeeded. A ton of money has been spent on this, you know? A ton of money, a ton of time, a lot of effort has been spent on, well, let's like take these kind of independent, conspiracy-minded libertarian voters and turn them into, you know, a little bit, maybe a little bit national and maybe a little bit socialist. Who knows who's keeping count? And it's failed. In spite of everything, Donald Trump's performance, he did not win, not even close. And he was booed and lambasted at the Libertarian National Convention. It was a desperate bid that didn't pay off. He said no more proxy wars. Do you know what that means? Don't you know? NPC Porky, I know. Thank you. I know. You would like, hey, Vaush, did you know this libertarian doesn't want to support Ukraine? I know. You don't need to narrativize it for me. Do you know what this means? I know what this means. He's not going to win, man. This is representative of a victory of genuine libertarianism, real libertarianism, admittedly American libertarianism, but okay, over just full out Republican backing like Nazism, you know? It's a sign of weakness in the GOP. The GOP should have been able to take this. For the amount of effort and money that's been demonstrated, how is he on labor rights? Why are you poo-pooing this? Guys, he's not winning the presidency. It's a third party. Shut up. Jesus Christ, he's a libertarian. Fill in the blanks, man. You gonna vote for him? The whole point here is that it's a loss for the GOP. I'm not coming out here saying like, this is the new guy. This is the new guy. We're going to make this guy win. Come on. He's a libertarian. I mean, if you want, he's got a whole goddamn video talking about his here. Let's do it. Timestamp hunting. Let's go. Campaign message and strat. Let's find out. I haven't seen this. I can see how some people might infer that based on what you've said so far. That's because you guys are so black and white. You're so black and white. There is no black and white. Black people and white people don't exist. Yakub failed. It's all shades of brown, man. Everyone's just like different brown. Look, go on Clip Studio Paint. Look at the color swatch.
Fantastic. Well, you know, you as the 2024 Libertarian Party candidate, you're going to kind of be an introduction to libertarianism for many people who've had minimal exposure to it. Maybe the first time they've even
Oh, this is Reason TV. We've seen their stuff before. We've repped their stuff before. I would like to see some of this interview. Okay, I'm sure they don't mind.
A libertarian or talked to one. If you're out there talking to people in person, what is the message in a minute or less that you want to get out to these voters?
By the way, not gonna lie, let's give credit where it's due. Are we not repping something adjacent to Better Call Saul energy with the loud suit, the yellow tie, and his face structure is a little bit Saul Goodman? Come on, you're gonna fight with me on this, but I feel like I'm right. The happy face pin sells it pretty well too, I feel. Bob Odenkirk, that is the actor who played Saul Goodman, yes.
The message in a minute or less that you want to get out to these voters?
Yeah, well, for me, it's not the first time that I've had to do this. I ran for Congress in the city of Atlanta for the first time, and a libertarian was ever on the ballot there. So I got to introduce this concept to many people. And my elevator pitch is pretty simple. If you're living your life in peace without force, fraud, coercion, theft, or violence, your life is your life, your body is your body, your business is your business, and your property is your property. It's not mine, and it certainly is the government's.
So there you go. That's a genuine American libertarian prospect there. And I've got plenty of problems with American libertarians, but it's still a far cry from the overtly authoritarian Republican Party. You know, the Republican Party does not believe in freedom from government overreach. Is he pro-abortion? He literally said, like, your body's your body. He's 100% pro-choice. Yeah.
And the Libertarian Party, which is the third largest third-party alternative for voters who don't like Republicans or Democrats. Also this year, RFK Jr.'s independent candidacy will be a factor since he'll draw in some of the protests.
Again, this was filmed before the win. It had to have been.
Vote. What is your plan to cobble together a coalition and win over some of these disaffected voters? What are some of the issues you'll be emphasizing?
Well, it's about targeting the most likely voters that we can bring into the camp. When we asked libertarians across the country to tell us...
Read the Intercept article. It's all black. We do need a third party. We need a Hail Mary. We have lost. The Dems are dooming us to endless war. Jump fall. It's not all black, because if you go to your front door and open it and walk outside, you might have to walk a little bit depending on where you live. You might notice that something is green. I want you to find the first green thing that you see, and I want you to go lay down in it, and I want you to go touch that shit. I'm banning you for a day. This is like an unforgivable level of doomerism. You will not infect, okay? Like this is like the guy who turns around to the rest of the group, his hand shaking to reveal that he has a zombie bite in his arm, okay? I'm really sorry, man. I'm really sorry. Look, you've been great with us this entire time, but I can't sacrifice the well-being of the entire group. We have to survive out here. You're getting put out back, man, to touch grass.
When they first became a libertarian, no matter what age they are today, the most common answer was between the ages of 18 and 29. That tells me we need to reach out to the next generation of those who can come into the Libertarian Party. And if we're going to do that, we're going to speak to the issues they care about. There are college kids on campuses all across the country who are asking for a peace candidate, say for a ceasefire in Gaza. I am one such candidate. There are kids all over this country, young people rather, who see the cost of living increasing. They go to the grocery store every 2 weeks for the same amount of money, and they see the less and less filling up that cart. And so we have to speak to the inflationary problems that we have that are devaluing our dollar. Because when those kids are raising kids, rather, we're going to have real issues where we have massive inflationary policies, huge mounting debts and deficits, and of course the warfare state all over the world that destabilizes and shifts opinions away from the United States favorability, because we're exporting our values with bullets and bombs, and not through markets, voluntary cooperation, and freedom.
I mean, well, to what degree is that actually the case right now? I mean, a lot of people would counter and say America's actually exercising a fair amount of foreign policy restraint right now. What do you make of that?
I don't believe anything that we've had since...
His discussion of inflation, though, is essentially him blaming government spending for... Are you telling me that a libertarian who won the Libertarian National Convention's candidacy for the presidency is anti-government spending? Oh...
9/11 could call it foreign policy restraint.
9/11
We still continue to have our troops on the ground all over the world. We continue to inject ourselves into politics all over the world, and it's up to us to do that via diplomacy and actually free trade, and not use that via militarism, opening bases, pushing our soldiers or our military intervention via foreign aid onto other nations.
I shouldn't be that mean to you guys, because I recognize that this is like a character we basically never see, because people who met, like, there's such a huge difference between IRL American libertarians and internet libertarians, because basically every internet libertarian that you've seen is a right-wing grifter who's too afraid to admit that they're a fascist, or they're like deliberately underplaying it because they're trying to bait people into believing that they're like civilly progressive when in reality they're anti-government intervention because they want to make it legal to like serve food to black people at a restaurant. Or they're people who have been like given money to be a grifter, right? So admittedly, we rarely cover people like this, you know, and I understand that that's a bit of a novelty, you know. So this guy's the real Ron Swanson. Okay, there is that the reference point that we need for people in chat to understand what this guy is. It's like Ron Swanson, okay? Ron Swanson, like, who had a lot of faults in what he believed, but there was like an underlying sincere belief in freedom from government intervention. That guy, like he wasn't like his political beliefs were like made fun of in the show, and it was kind of a cartoon a character of a libertarian, but like there was an underlying sort of dignity to it that is not represented in the Republican Party. Like that? Is that enough? Is that good? Okay.
We need to have a more peace-based foreign policy that's rooted in diplomacy. People begged for that when Obama ran in 2008. He said, I'll meet anyone without precondition. And that won him a lot of votes. And then he abandoned those principles. I'm telling people, I'm the real deal.
How is this guy not a fascist who's too stupid to understand? Because he hasn't said or done anything even remotely fascist. What do you mean by fascist? By fascist, do you mean what has he done or said? There's nothing even remotely fascist about his behavior here at all. Adherence to private capital, I guess. Like that's kind of the case for like 99% of the world at the moment. So yeah, I don't know. Can we please dial it in? I feel like you guys are being very internet right now. You're being very Reddit, and I need you guys to dial it in just a little bit, because I can't like I know I'm choosing to respond, but you guys, like, he's just an American libertarian, but like a real one, okay? Like that's it. Like that's it. Just we can leave it at that. You know? Just listen, okay? Listen, okay? A white cisgender male is speaking. Listen. Do not speak.
Deal. I will actually seek to use diplomacy as a tool before I use the warfare state as it exists.
I noticed that you call it the genocide in Gaza. Is that accurate?
When you see as many people being carpet bombed as we see, it seems to be that it is on its way to removing an entire population from the area. They keep shoving people further and further into Rafah, into southward. And the Israeli government has said multiple times, we would love for these people just to leave and never come back. And that's what they're trying to do, is shove these populations out of where they have been. And we actually need to see better solutions that aren't rooted in carpet bombing people, killing tens of thousands of innocents. I understand October 7th was a horrible thing that should never have happened. And Israel would have a right to respond. And if they had done so in a way that was like a scalpel and not like a sledgehammer, we would have much more support for what they're doing. But too many innocent people have died, and we must see a ceasefire today.
Crazy how this guy is mogging, just like dabbing all over Biden right now. It's insane. Also important, he comes across sincere. Yeah, this, everything that I've seen from this guy, because I saw his acceptance speech and I saw some other stuff of his after he won a few days ago. It seems to me like he's pretty sincere. I mean, you can never like fully know, but I don't get the impression that he's like, if he was just in it for the clout, why wouldn't he be with the Mises caucus, right? Like that's where the money is.
But that's a little bit different than saying that we believe that the Israeli military ought to end their offensive in Rafah and use a different strategy. Genocide is very different than critiquing the actions of the military. What constitutes a genocide? Generally, when genocides are happening, the military that's conducting the genocide isn't warning people, warning civilians to leave the places they're sheltering in advance of that, right?
If you listen to the rhetoric from the worst of the far-right elements of the Netanyahu government, you will hear genocidal rhetoric out there. And I say I support those in Israel who are actual voices for peace, who understand that these actions that we are...
Guys, she's asking the questions to prompt answers. Are you guys serious? It's Reason TV. Can we... You guys are making me look bad for YouTube chat right now. You really didn't... Is it because she's a woman? Is that why are you all doing the thing where like a woman makes an obvious joke and you're all like, wow, women are stupid, huh? Because you didn't get it? You guys are taking a minute. You're taking a minute, okay?
Taking will destabilize the region, make it more likely to go war with our Arab neighbors, and make it less safe to be the average Israeli out there. So I'm going to support the voices of peace within Israel and ask that their government respond to those voices instead of continuing this militarized policy, which is killing far too many Gazans. We must see peace.
I'm going to take us to a little bit of the internal controversy
this
within
is what
the
I want
Libertarian
to
Party, because
hear.
I was there at the convention. There are some deep divisions between various factions, and the faction that opposed you does not seem happy with your nomination. I brought up this tweet earlier from Dave Smith, who says that this weekend we retained control of the LNC while re-electing Angela McArdle, who's a phenomenal chair, and put on the best convention in the party's history. Unfortunately, we lost the big one. That would be the presidential nomination. And there's no getting around that. Yesterday, I congratulated Chase in person and on here. Of course, I can't endorse or vote him, just as he wouldn't for me. He doesn't represent me and my camp or the things we stand for. What do you make of Dave's reaction here, which kind of speaks for a group within the Libertarian Party? And is there anything that you feel you can do to build a bridge back to them?
Dude, it's genuinely crazy how overt everything with the Mises Caucus. I can't believe that I never saw this in the times that I looked into them. Be good, chat. A caucus within the Libertarian Party that promotes paleo-libertarianism. Where have we heard that type of terminology before? More radical, da-da-da-da-da. Founded in 2017, mainly in opposition to Nicholas Sork's position as party chairman. Here, history. In August 2017, a feud between the LNC and the Mises Institute occurred in the aftermath of the Unite the Right rally. LNC chairman Nicholas Sork criticized Mises Institute president Jeff Deist for an article he wrote for the think tank weeks before the rally that positively mentioned the term blood and soil. And the most libertarian concept possible, the idea that one's blood is directly tied to their homeland. Oh yeah. And criticized Tom Woods for defending Murray Rothbard's paleo strategy. Other members of the LNC accused the Mises Institute of being white nationalist and said there's no room for bigots and racists in the party. Then they made the Mises Caucus. After being accused of being neo-Nazis, they made the Mises Caucus and continued to do that. And since then, like, they have been trying desperately to make the Libertarian Party like them. Again, please understand here that when I say, like, they're Nazis, I mean that in the sense of, like, they were formed in response to a feud that happened because the leader of the Mises Institute used the term blood and soil positively and was not, like, against the Unite the Right rally. Like, it's like, come on. Have you ever wondered why so many Libertarian Party Twitter accounts are openly Nazis? Have you ever wondered that? Like the New Hampshire one or whatever? Like every once in a while you see one of the state Libertarian parties post some like absolute f***ing coal. Oh yeah, here's Libertarian Party New Hampshire. We must secure the existence of our people and a future for libertarian children. Really subtle, guys. Really, oh man, really putting that high white IQ to use with that incredibly subtle dog whistle, man. That's, oh god, so smart. It is time for the final solution. And it says move to New Hampshire. That's its own dog whistle or what, but you get it. You get it. You know, like, that's the New Hampshire one as well. Like, there's a reason these guys are showing up, you know? The Mises-controlled New Hampshire state affiliate made controversial tweets calling for legalizing child labor and repealing the Civil Rights Act. 2022 takeover of the LNC. Mises Caucus board member Angela McArdle announced her intention to run for party chair. She won the election with over 69% of the vote. Nice. The caucus also won all the leadership positions in the LNC, thus completed the takeover of the Libertarian Party by the Mises Caucus. Remember what I said? And despite all of this, they just got blown out by this guy, Chase Oliver. Isn't that interesting? That's the reason why I'm positive about this. This whole thing was like a Nazi effort at co-opting a third party on behalf of the Republican Party, because the Mises guys love Trump, even though Trump is an open authoritarian who's like, you know, not at all in line with libertarian values. Again, like, you get it. They backed Michael Rechtenwald in the 2024 Libertarian Party presidential primaries. And how did he do again? He got 2.4% of the vote. Wait, no, this isn't right. Non-binding preferential vote? Where's the actual one? Oh, God. Here we go. Yeah, in the non-binding preferential one, Chase Oliver got 6 contests won, but only 8.8%. Okay, I don't know how that one works. All right, I don't know how their system works for that. Here's the actual one, state by state. What on earth? So despite getting so few votes, he won because he won in the most states? So he won even though he got this many fewer votes, but all this guy's votes came from California? 98.6%. All right, you know what? Whatever. Look, libertarian math, okay?
Well, there are two things I want to say. Dave kind of spoke for me in that tweet. The truth is if Dave Smith had run for president and been nominated, I would absolutely endorse him and be voting for him to secure ballot access for the Libertarian Party in Georgia. We need to have a presidential candidate to get over a certain amount, or we lose that in my home state. And there are other states like that. I would be supporting the party and supporting the candidate if he were the endorsed candidate. I would have been endorsing Michael Rectenwald because I want to secure ballot access. I would have been doing that, and I was ready and prepared. If the VP candidate I did not prefer had won, I would have walked on stage, shook his hand, and said, hey, we may not agree on everything, but we're going to have to figure out how to work together for the party. I'm glad that I got an amazing running mate in Mike Termott, who's ready to be a full-fledged partner for Liberty in this case, and I'm ready to keep working for that. Now, 2 years ago, we also had a contentious convention in Reno, Nevada, and I was on the losing side of nearly every one of those votes. But guess what? I stayed involved. I didn't quit. I didn't leave. I committed myself to the principles of liberty. And I understood deep down, no matter who our candidate in 2024 is, they'll be less likely to create wars than Joe Biden or Donald Trump. They'll support reducing government more than Joe Biden, Donald Trump, or RFK, or any other candidate. So I would hope that personal differences or hurt feelings
it's at 1.2 times speed
does not draw them away from liberty. I'm extending my hand telling people, do not run from this party. Stay committed to our principles. We will disagree on some things. And if you don't want to talk about those things, that's fine. Let's talk about the things we do agree on. Ending wars, ending the taxation that...
This is the one we want? Okay, yeah, because it's done by delegates, right? So over here we have the kind of rundown. It's like they do like eliminations. They eliminate the person with the least votes with each one, right? So Art, Olivier, Joshua, Toad, Anderson, RFK Jr., and Charles Balley all got eliminated in the first round, with Michael Rectenwald, that's the Mises Caucus candidate, doing the best. And then you get rid of Jacob Hornberg, Joshua Smith, Lars, and in all of these runoffs, Michael Rectenwald does the best. Like, he does the best in the first, second, third, fourth ballot. His numbers keep going up and up and up. But then right here, after you eliminate Mike Termott, who is the guy that I debated, this lunatic, up next, Michael Rectenwald gets eliminated, just narrowly, 5% difference. So I think you can fairly say then that the real vote we're looking at is the final one here, where you have Chase Oliver up against none of the above. Because once you eliminate Michael Rectenwald, right, like that's the last count, right? It's the final guy versus how many are none of the above, of which 36.6% of the participating delegates voted none of the above, and 60.6% voted Chase Oliver. So I'm guessing the 36.6% here are just Nazis. That's my guess. Oh yeah, that's the Hitlerite caucus right there. Interesting, huh? Substance Soda, I think that the benefit of him potentially pulling voters from the Republicans is outweighed by the fact that this represents a massive defeat for the Republicans and the Nazis that work with them. And by the way, I just want to say, I do still think that Chase Oliver has a decent chance of pulling away some Republican voters. I know it's crazy to think about, but there are people who vote Republican who are in this like weird camp of like, don't touch my guns, don't touch my taxes, and apart from that, nah. And those are their first principles, and even a progressive libertarian candidate is a preferable option. There are Republicans who are, that's a lot of Texans. I mean, that's a lot of like New Hampshire, Vermont, like, you know, there are plenty of states out there where you've got like this large contingent of libertarian, independent, kind of like, I own 16 guns, you know, I love my trans son and my AR-15 kind of people. And for those people, I mean, Chase Oliver is obviously probably a pretty big advocate of gun rights. I haven't heard him say that. I just know that he is. It's possible. Do you think the libertarian Nazis will switch to Trump? Code mode, that's the point that I'm making. I think they already would have. I think that the libertarians who are just libertarian in the sense that they're trying to co-opt the LNC, I think they already would have voted for Trump. And I can evidence that claim as well. Just a moment. I can evidence that claim very well. The Mises Caucus did not exist in 2016. And in 2016, the Libertarian candidate, Gary Johnson, ended up winning 4.5 million votes, 3.3% of the popular vote. That is a huge amount for the Libertarian Party. That is massive. And were it not for the way things worked out, they would have been an effective spoiler to the Republicans. You know, that's pretty big. That's large enough to have a significant effect in multiple states, right? But in 2020, Joe Jorgensen, who I didn't think was that bad, received 1.8 million votes, or 1.2% of the national total. What's the difference? Well, the Mises Caucus didn't exist in 2016. It did in 2020. My thoughts are the so-called libertarians, who are really just Nazi plants within the LNC, already just voted for Trump in the general election. I don't think they voted Libertarian, and I think that's why the Libertarian Party did so poorly. Because Joe Jorgensen was not the Mises Caucus's pick. And even if she was, they still want Trump to win, because this whole thing is that's the whole point of a plant, right? You're trying to pull them over, not like embolden the Libertarian Party, right? So I think that, I don't know, I think there's some math here. Oh yeah, for sure, Comrade Champ. Threat of mad fascists because Libertarian Party elected a Libertarian. The Libertarian Party just nominated a candidate who supports open borders, is pro-choice, and calls himself a trans ally. Complete disaster. My face when the Libertarian presidential candidate elected by the Libertarian National Convention is a Libertarian. Absolutely brutal. This guy's a Nazi. I mean, I can see what he's complaining about. Christian above all else? Yeah, probably. There's like 200 million Christians in America, probably more than that actually, and basically none of them are Nazis, but if they're on Twitter and it's in their bio, they are. What does this guy think libertarianism means? I mean, he just wants to co-opt the party. Like, again, this is why I'm happy this guy won.
It affects each and every one of our pockets. Getting the crisis of immigration solved through less government, not more overly intrusive government. There's a lot of areas where there's division. But what I'm willing to do is sit down in the room and talk with people, extend my hand, just like I did in Reno and at every convention I've ever been to, whether I've been on the winning side or the losing side. Liberty is too important for personality. We have to get out there and support one another and the principles that we are fighting for as a party. And I will continue to do that as a lifetime member of the Libertarian Party. And I encourage others who may be upset after an understandably long convention day. We all were in the hall all day long. Feelings and tensions were high. Take a breath, go home, spend some time with your family, and realize that our principles are more important than a few policy disagreements. Deep down, we are all libertarians.
Nice. This guy seems like a fairly competent politician. Libertarian outreach in big tents.
All of that. I just do wonder, though, whether libertarians have, like, one thing that the Mises Caucus sort of speaks to, but I think in a terrible way, because they're just like...
Wouldn't it have been better if he was crazier than Trump, all Polls and others to his side? Do you guys listen to me when I talk, or is it just, like, when I respond to somebody in chat, you guys realize that all of you can hear what I say and, like, internalize it, right? Like, I'm not pulling aside that one person in chat and whispering in their ear. Like, you can all hear what I say and listen to it so that you don't ask me the same questions over and over. I don't know if you've just gotten in chat. Actually, I'm going to find out with you. Hold on. I'm going to find out with you. I'm going to see. You have been here this entire time! I'm twisting your nuts.
Edgewards. But one thing that they, I think, seem to have almost tapped into is the fact that there's a lot of people loosely, culturally on the right who aren't really keen on Donald Trump and who want a different type of foreign policy, who have strong anti-war bona fides. But they understand that, like, some of these people are winnable to the libertarian cause, whereas historically the Libertarian Party has not had nearly as much success currying favor with the left and winning over voters from the left. But especially, like, right now we see a very weird, fractured Democratic Party. I mean, do you legitimately think libertarians are going to be most successful when we try to message to both left and right at the same time, or a little bit skewed left versus messaging and trying to win over people leaning to the right? I think about so many like normie traditional religious conservatives I know who are not MAGA types, you know?
Okay, I'm going to try to visualize this because you people are going to drive me insane, okay? We can't know at any given point in time how many libertarian voters are basically just like Republicans, okay? If we could imagine that the libertarian voter base is a big amorphous blob of people, not all of whom consistently vote libertarian, but are all kind of in the general orbit, okay? What the Mises Caucus is an outside force that is trying to pollute more and more and more of that group of people to make them vote Republican. The goal here is not to make a strong Libertarian Party. It's a tumor, and they're trying to take these voters and make them useful to the right by moving them over to Trump. Remember, Nazis love Trump. Like, all of them love Trump, you know? So we can't know exactly how much of the vague libertarian base has been made subject to that influence, that astroturfing. All we can really do is look in from the outside and infer what the internal party dynamic is based on factors like, say, who wins their vote. See? So it's an indication that the Mises Caucus has not polluted as much of this vague voting base as I was worried they had. You know?
And I think there's also a lot of people on the left side of the spectrum that aren't hardcore Joe Biden fans either that want freedom. And the truth is I came to the Libertarian Party from the Democratic side of the aisle. I was an anti-war Democrat marching in the streets to oppose the fascist George W. Bush war machine. And then when I found out that war machine also existed within the Democratic Party, I looked for an anti-war party elsewhere. I got brought into a tent, and my philosophy of anti-war was connected to the greater philosophy of liberty by a great guy named John Mons, who took the time to sit with me and say, if you're anti-war, you should be pro-liberty, and here's why. And so I want to allow these people to come into our tent, to hear our message, and let's connect their anti-war view with the greater picture of liberty, wherever you come from, whether it's eminent domain on your farmland being taken to put a pipeline, that I heard about in South Dakota, where they're taking, or carbon capture pipelines through people's property without their permission. You know, I think
I agree
it's
a bit too small.
Liberty come here. If it's immigration reform, if it's taxes, if it's COVID lockdown and mandates, if it's the warfare state, whatever your idea, let's get you into the tent and let's connect it with a greater philosophy to build a whole new generation.
Okay, this guy beliefs are pretty much my own. I'm not a socialist. I'm a liberal, but I'm very progressive socialist. I mean, Kenneth the Allen Cook, being a progressive isn't enough. I'm very sorry. This is in fact a socialist community. We will be repossessing your toothbrush. You know, we'll onboard the liberals, but don't get too proud about it. All right. You know, you have to be you can't be progressive while not being economically progressive. Like, there's no such thing as socially progressive, economically conservative, or whatever. That's not a real thing. That's a fake thing. It's made up. Anyway, I think we get the size of this guy. You know, I've yelled at chat enough. My throat hurts a little bit. You know, this guy's probably not going to get that many votes in the general because it's such a polarized election, and a lot of libertarians are going to be voting for Trump anyway. But I don't know. I like the cut of his jib a little bit. At least he seems to give a shit, right? Like, at least he like seems sincere, and he's not a victim of or a product of the astroturfing. Isn't that person just the average American liberal? The average American liberal is ideologically incoherent, and their positions on any given issue will range from those more resembling a fascist or a socialist, depending on how much it personally inconveniences them. A liberal can, with like no feeling of whiplash or inconsistency, no doublethink, have like a fascist prescription on border policy and then a socialist prescription on pharmaceutical companies. There's no, it's, you know, most people are incoherent. Over under 3.5 million in the general? Under, easily under. I'm just afraid his pro-Gaza rhetoric is legitimately going to pull many naive Democrat voters because he's not a genocide defender. Is that like a naive voter, or is that somebody who feels bad about voting for a person who's doing a genocide? You know, don't quit with the pessimism, guys. Okay, can we like your concerns are noted. Vaush has a fascist prescription on chat. Well, it's not fascism if you guys are literally not people.